Hello. So this is our presentation for our app. We chose for our original application. The idea was to make an app that interfaced with the Spotify API. This app was to make requirements, or I'm sorry, requests to API-based on different search parameters. So the parameters we chose was albums, um, tracks or songs, artists, and after submitting the idea to our instructor, we realized we were missing something that demonstrated local storage. So we changed the scope a little bit. We modified our original plan to allow users to be able to um, choose favorites from different search results. This saves the selected result in local storage. This result is then displayed on the favorites page, and then we have a delete option that can delete the favorites from that page. As far as the most trouble in development that I came across, I had the most trouble with the calling tracks. Daniel solved the problem by determining that individual tracks had to be called through the albums that they were from. And now Daniel will continue with his most trouble.
Yeah, so for me, the most trouble I had in development had to do with the favorites page. This favorites page, as you can see, there's nothing on it right now, and I'll demonstrate that further, but most of this had to be generated dynamically with JavaScript to be able to pull results from local storage, and I found that to be a little finicky, like the best way to do that. So I know that that's something I spent a little bit more time on than I anticipated. So that was that for me. Keeping along with this, you get to see my behind the scenes notes here. For me, I'll go first on what I was most proud of. For me, I've worked with jQuery a lot in the past, and I haven't done much with Ajax through like XML HTTP requests, like the native way to do it. And so I felt proud that I was able to learn that concept of Ajax. And one thing that I was particularly proud of is being able to use callback functions to be able to make a general Ajax function. So this is my general Ajax function. And then through that, we were able to make individual requests using that function. And then each of those, because we're using a callback, we're able to handle the data, the JSON, individually. And that creates for a very modular design, which I was pleased with. And so Michael is now going to talk about the part he was most proud of.
Yeah, I was very happy to get the songs and the artist code functioning using Daniel's initial code and what he just described as the Ajax calls. Early on, I had I also added to the tracks and the artist. I was able to get genre and popularity calls working, and I paired those up with the artist's name and the song titles. So I was happy to learn from Daniel's code, but also to manipulate it to where it worked for certain portions. Oh, and so next, I'm sorry, Daniel is going to demonstrate the app now.
Yeah, so I'll make this pretty short. Our idea behind the app is to be able to interface with the Spotify API, like Michael talked about. Spotify is something that probably most people in the class have used before. So I thought it would be kind of a fun idea to create an app that would be able to allow you to favorite things and create a simple user interface that way. So two things. So this is the home page, and this is the drop-down menu that we created. So albums. This is a very famous album, so you can look up an album here. So it's got all the results here. This makes an AJAX request like we showed before, and then it returns all relevant results. So if I'm to click on this, open up in a new tab, this will then open up this album. And begin to play it. So it's a really fun app idea because it's you can just play music this way, and it makes it really fun. So there's albums. The other two I'll be a little bit quicker on just because you get the idea at this point. They're just different types of calls. So artists, let's say Bob Dylan, and it'll pull up all the related artists to that name. And if we go to songs, we can do The Brick in the Wall. Is the same type of idea. So this gives you all related songs in that way. Next I'll feature that we put in here is being able to actually like favorite your stuff, because that's the main draw to the application. So if I click on these, you notice that they turn green. If I go to the favorites page, it now has songs. So if I click on artists, put Bob Dylan in there. Let's go to albums. Let's put Thriller in there. And then if we go back to favorites, we now have Bob Dylan. We got those songs. We've got the Thriller album. You can also delete them here, and it will delete them from local storage as well. They're no longer there. That's the main part of the application. The next thing we wanted to go over is code topics used in the app. Okay, so I'll be quick about this too. We talked about AJAX before, so that's something that we've gone over already. There's click events in multiple places. So there's a click event here. As you click on this, it opens up this drop down. It hides through a CSS class that we add and remove. We do transitions on the following pages. So you see how the albums kind of come into view that way. That's an animation. Also, favoriting an item is an animation. Pretty subtle there, but what happens is that it kind of fades into green there. We've got DOM manipulation all over the place. Through the AJAX calls, we generate all of these results dynamically. We also do that on the favorites page. These results are dynamic, as you can see. We have CSS styling. We've got covered. The only thing we may not have is inheritance, just because we'd have to go out of our way to find a good use case for that. But everything else, as far as functions, loops, everything like that is used in the application. So we were able to utilize most of the code topics in the app just very naturally without having to go out of our way. Next thing we want to talk about is the roles that we played in the application. So to give some context, I've been working as a web developer for a while now, and so this class was, I did learn some new concepts, but most of it was review, and so I had some experience there. Michael is new to this stuff, and so it was kind of a neat opportunity for me to mentor Michael and for Michael to be able to learn at his own pace. And so it worked really well. A team of 2. We started off as a team of 3, so we kind of had to work with that, and I think all in all it was very successful. I created most of the pages as far as artist, song, album, and favorites. And then Michael spent his effort creating AJAX calls, particularly on the artist page and the song page. And then I'll let Michael talk a little bit more about his learning experience, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay. Well, yeah, you pretty much covered it there.
Yeah, kind of stole your thunder.
Yeah, I had talked about the artist page and song page as well, but I also helped out with or laid out the homepage, which was relatively simple, but just to add the artist page and the song page to it. But yeah, as far as the learning, I thought it was great. Daniel's a great teacher, and I hope I proved to be a decent student and productive in some way. But yeah, I enjoyed the whole process, and I learned a lot from Daniel on how that process, the cycle of development. So it was a great learning experience.
And so I guess in closing, what I'll do is I showed a little bit about the Ajax. I wanted to spend just a couple, maybe like a minute or two, showing you some other code. So one part that threw me for a loop a little bit was the fact that it had to be a single page application. And so I Jimmy rigged, I guess you could say. It's kind of a very, very, very simple version of a SPA, they call them, a single page application. And so what I did is I just utilized anchor links. So if I go back to the Spotify app, you notice here that it's just an anchor link. So in the code, what I did is I wrote this script, which in the index, it looks for each of these. So I have a class called page, and then each has an ID, and you see how these map. So albums maps to here, the albums page. And then really all I had to do was just with CSS and JavaScript say show and hide certain content. So in the index page, it all exists, and then depending on what you click, different things get shown and other stuff gets hidden, depending on how that works. I'd never done that before, and so that was kind of an interesting process to figure that one out. As far as code besides that, if you look in our app.js, I've got simple helper functions like toggle display, toggle class, a save to local storage, delete from local storage, all pretty self-explanatory. One thing I really did learn through this project is how you could make dynamic function calls. There's an example here in print favorites, line 75. And other than that, we kind of use the same type of thing, creating dynamic content through JavaScript and HTML. It's pretty interesting, and not being able to use frameworks like jQuery and other things, I think, deepened both of our understandings of web technology. So it was definitely a good project to sharpen our skills that way. Other than that, that's all we have to say. Thank you very much.
All right.